Okay, guys, we know Kansas City descended into one of the worst cities in the country on the low low. No one talks about it. Um, Democrat mayor, Democrat everything, Democrat. Um, 90% of the murder victims in the murder explosion that's happened there in the last couple of years, worst murder rate since 1993. 90% of victims, 90% plus are Wakandan refugees. And the woke media there is trying to, cover it up and make it seem like something else is going on. Or they're just some cognitive dissonance there. Trump sent in the feds last year. No one talked about that, to try to curb the violence and save black lives when a black child was killed. Legend, I think his name was Legend, and they named the bill after him. He was sleeping in his bed, and a bullet flew through the drywall and struck him while he was sleeping and killed him. And they named the bill after him, and they sent the feds in there. Trump, racist old Trump. And a woman, Aviva Okerson Haberman, very woke journalist down there, just love black people, just love woke politics. Well, she was killed by a stray bullet the same way that child was. And we're going to get into that in a second. So make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that PayPal, Cash App, take that $5 challenge, hit that super chat. Let's get into this.
All right, so you brought up the police in your speech a few times. So what is your main concern? Since, honestly, the whole reason police, it is systemic. The issue is systemic because the whole reason we have police departments in the first place, where did it stem from? What's our history? Going back to what Jeremy was talking about, what does it stem from? It stems from people in the South wanting to capture runaway slaves.
I hear that a lot, and that it stemmed from the slave patrol. And this is a woke professor at Cypress College, just to give you a taste of the type of these woke liberal women, the way they talk, the way they act. She was just put on leave. This is not Aviva Okerson. This is another woke liberal, super woke woman who this week was put on leave because she berated this student for saying that the cops were heroes in class during a Zoom class. And I'm glad these Zoom things are happening because these teachers get exposed. Because if this was just in a regular class setting, only the kids in the class would have heard it. But this woman, I kind of got to give her a break because she's been told on these college campuses that black and brown. So she basically thinks she's black. So she identifies, when you're on these campuses, if you're brown, if you're from India, if you're anything but white, if you're from Armenia or Turkey, you think you're black. Like you're in solidation with black people. So this whole thing about the slave patrols, police did not form out of the slave patrols. In some southern places, they formed out of slave patrols, but the first police department in the United States was 1832 in Boston. And then you had police in England before that. So I don't know where they get this thing that police formed out of the slave. And if it did, so what? The clothes you wearing are made out of cotton, woman. Her drawers is made out of cotton. Okay? It's hundreds of Fortune 500 businesses right now that sell products that we use every day whose families were slave owners. Anderson Cooper and their family, the Vanderbilts, Gloria Vanderbilt. That's why Anderson Cooper took his dad's name, because he didn't want everybody to know that he was Gloria Vanderbilt's son. I was about to say daughter, but Gloria Vanderbilt's son. He didn't want any. Anderson Cooper's family made their money in the slave trade. So if the police, even if her lie that the police started as slave catchers, so what? They're not slave catchers now.
In the first place, where did it stem from? What's our history? Going back to what Jeremy was talking about, what does it stem from? It stems from people in the South wanting to capture runaway slaves.
Maybe they shouldn't be heroes. Maybe they don't belong on a kid's show. So I disagree with what Jeremy said about it, because I think cops are heroes and they have to have a difficult job, but we have to have
all of them.
Life. Oh, I'd say a good majority of them. You have bad people in every business and every part. Well,
a lot of police officers have committed atrocious crimes and have gotten away with it and have never been convicted of any of it. And I say this as a person who has family members who are police officers.
Yes, I understand. And this is what I believe. This is my opinion. And this is, not popular to say, but I do support our police. We have bad people, and the people that do bad things should be brought to justice. I agree with that. But I think that, say it again.
They haven't.
Well, I agree with you on that point of they should, right?
Okay, so what is your bottom line point? You're saying police officers should be revered, viewed as heroes? They go on TV shows with children?
I think they are heroes in a sense, because they come to your need and they come and help you, and they have a problem just like every other business, but we should fix that. But I think they're heroes. Well,
I think that's the problem, is looking at it as a business. Because they're actually supposed to protect and serve the people,
not the protect us. Who do we call when we're in trouble and someone has a knife or a gun?
I wouldn't call the police.
That is a bold-faced lie. I promise you. If this woman saw me I used to canvas, y'all. I tell you, I used to canvas. And 99% of the people are very, very wonderful. But there's certain situations that when you're canvassing the neighborhood, a bunch of black guys just walking around the neighborhood, knocking on everybody's doors, that can, cause fear. And one of them is when it's getting late, because you're not supposed to canvass after 9 o'clock or after 8 o'clock in certain neighborhoods. She's taking her trash out. Me and my guys, we're walking down the street with our flyers and our paperwork in our hand, trying to get leads, procure leads. We see her. We're walking down the street of her cookie cutter suburb neighborhood, and she's just happened to be taking out the trash. She would have a heart attack just on seeing us. If this woman was in a place alone with me, and I'm just telling you, I'm an old head. I'm not one of these young dudes with the hoodie on and the mask and the skinny jeans trying to look dangerous, to scare other black men, to make other black men not try to jump on him. But also everybody else by proxy sees the danger that he presents or that he's projecting. I'm not one of those. I'm an old head. She sees me, she has a heart attack. I guarantee you. Any place alone, dark, whatever. And she told me she ain't gonna call the police if I'm running in her house, if I'm kicking down her door. Boom, boom, boom. The hinges are slowly crackling. She not gonna call the police? She's a liar. There were so many mass shootings this past week, and yesterday included. Just yesterday was shootings everywhere. And she told me, don't call the police. She's telling students at a college who these colleges, once they go back to class, you're going to start seeing these colleges getting shot up. There's going to be mass shootings at colleges every month. Somewhere in this country. And she's telling students not to call the police because they started as the slave patrol and goddamn Rodney King, dudes who beat Rodney King got off. And what the hell is she? What's wrong with this woman? This woman should never work a day again and teach. She should never be able to teach kids again. Because what she's saying is a bold-faced lie. It's a lie. She would call the police just on the sight sometimes. This woman is not equipped for warfare. A group of Boone Shikas and Keishas and Jadas and Nenes and Peaches, a group of them start arguing with her. She get into an argument with one of these sisters that we cover on these channels, or Tommy Sotomayor cover on his channel. She just get into a spat with one of them. She calling the police. One of them sisters give her a cold glare. She's calling the police.
They have a problem just like every other business, but we should fix that. But I think they're heroes. Well,
I think that's the problem, is looking at it as a business. Because they're actually supposed to protect and serve the people,
not protect us. Who do we call when we're in trouble and someone has a knife or a gun?
I wouldn't call the police.
Why wouldn't you call the police?
I don't trust them. My life's in more danger
Who would you call?
in their presence.
Professor, who would you call?
I wouldn't call anybody.
Well, would you have someone intrude in your house with a gun? Would you have a gun on you, or
no.
Who would you call?
It's my time to go.
Okay.
I'm not going to be
in your house with a gun. There's not much you can do at that point. Calling the police is kind of just,
And I know that.
And this white kid right here, whatever he is, I don't know what he is. He got a scintilla or something in him, but whatever. This white kid right here, I'm just going by the young guys I know in D.C. He just lucky that they wouldn't even, he's like a tree or a lamppost to them. They wouldn't even look at him. But if they were looking to, like if they were somewhere and they didn't have no money to catch the bus, they were stranded or something like that. And he was just standing there and nobody else was around. Like, you might see him running down the street naked 5 minutes later. Like, he is food. He talking about stuff, the police, if you can't, if someone has a gun, you no use calling the police. He's lying. This guy is in such danger that he knows it, but he's on here talking. He knows how much danger he is in just breathing around certain people.
Would you have a gun on you, or
no.
Who would you call?
It's my time to go.
Okay.
I'm not going to be
in your house with a gun. There's not much you can do at that point. Calling the police is kind of just,
And I know that it's not popular for me to say that to you guys and people in here, but that's what I believe about the police.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you
very much
for listening to my point. I appreciate it. Thanks.
I will say, I'm glad you did say that, even if I disagree with you. It's important that
and we should fight for the right for people to say things that we don't even like, right?
I may not agree with what you say, but I'll fight for your right to say it.
Amen.
Within some extent, I'll say.
Okay, folks.
Kansas City woman is on life support after reports of a stray bullet fired into her apartment this week. Thank you for joining us for KCTV5 News at 10. I'm Greg Payne. That shooting happened near the area of 27th and Benton Avenue Friday. If you listen to public radio, you may recognize her voice. Her colleagues at KCUR in Kansas City have identified her as Aviva Okeson Haberman, a promising young political reporter already making strides. KCTV5's Leslie Aguilar has her story.
This KCUR's Aviva Okeson Haberman reports.
Aviva Okeson Haberman had only just started her professional journalism career in 2019, but her work made waves even as a student journalist.
She was the best student reporter I've ever worked with, and I've worked with hundreds of student reporters, and that's obviously not a small statement. It's just a fact that she was incredibly talented and incredibly driven.
And incredibly woke. incredibly woke. No way that guy pays her that compliment. And she's running around talking about black accountability. And, you know, black people have agency and they can do things. They're capable of doing things on their own. No way he pays her that compliment. So this is something she retweeted. Mizzou Social Justice Center coordinators were told in a Thursday meeting with the administrator that their jobs would not exist after June 30 as part of department restructuring. So she's all with the on-campus social justice stuff at colleges. And listen, I'm not saying this woman deserved to die, but what I'm saying, and especially just a stray bullet, like her killer didn't look her in her eyes. She was just in her house probably typing or working on a story, and boom, a bullet hits her in the head, she's dead. However, as a reporter, it'd have been nice if she reported on and tried to on what was really going on and not this woke liberal dream fantasy lie about what is going on in these inner cities like Kansas City. Because it hurts black people. These woke white people, they get black people killed with this defund the police crap. So here she writes, I'm very excited to join the KSN News Service team. I have lots to learn about social services, criminal justice, so please get in touch. Criminal justice system. Every day I'm doing a story about some kid who's carjacked 15 people in his city and he's been arrested 15 times. And he's on the street again. He just cut off his ankle monitor and carjacked somebody else and killed them, and now it's a big deal. And then she thinks she's woke by retweeting something like this in a city where 200 black people get killed every year in the streets, where black children are getting shot every day in the street with stray bullets the same way she died. Every day in Kansas City this is happening. And look what she retweets. Relatives of a woman murdered in 1996 in Kansas City, Kansas, think Detective Roger Golubsky, accused of brazen corruption, was somehow tied to her death. If he didn't do it, he knows something about it. So she's going back to try to get some white police officer from 1996 in trouble because some black woman got killed. And of course, it wasn't a black person that killed this black woman. It was a white cop that killed this black woman. And she's going to uncover how this white cop killed this black woman in 1996. Because we know that's what's really happening. Instead of the 10 murders that happened in Kansas City that week. And of course, this is the mayor of Kansas City. Of course.
This KCUR's Aviva Okeson Haberman reports.
Aviva Okeson Haberman had only just started her professional journalism career in 2019, but her work made waves even as a student journalist.
She was the best student reporter I've ever worked with, and I've worked with hundreds of student reporters, and that's obviously not a small statement. It's just a fact that she was incredibly talented and incredibly driven.
Ryan Famuliner was Aviva's news director at KBIA Radio at the Missouri School of Journalism. There, she and another reporter did an investigation revealing many calls to Missouri's elder abuse hotline went unanswered.
The day that they published that story, the state attorney general launched an investigation and later instituted changes.
Work like that earned her a long list of prestigious awards.
A decade's worth of awards as a student. Sort of an unbelievable amount of really, really good work in just a short amount of time I was able to work with her.
But as KCUR's Aviva Okeson Haberman found out,
That caliber of work continued at KCUR here in Kansas City. Though colleagues describe her as quiet and unassuming, she wasn't afraid of asking tough questions. And it's not just her family, friends, and colleagues praising her work, but even those she could be critical of in her reporting. Clay County Sheriff Will Aiken tweeted, her professionalism in the world of journalism was hardly matched. Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas tweeted, Aviva was creative, thorough, challenging, and insightful reporter who showed compassion for those who often were voiceless. The lone bullet hole in her apartment can be seen from outside, an eerie reminder that she became an innocent victim of the gun violence she often reported on in Kansas City. Famuliner says Aviva would hate the attention all on her if she were here.
This is tragic anytime it happens, and it's great that we're telling her story, but there are lots of other stories like this that don't always get told, and those are equally as important and tragic.
Her colleagues at KCUR have vowed to honor her life by continuing to serve the community through quality journalism.
For KCUR 89.3, I'm Aviva Ugason-Haberman.
Aviva had apparently been looking at apartments in Lawrence just hours before she was shot.
I didn't have to pause it with it make this woman look like a scream mask. But oh well. She was trying to get about that black. She was trying to pull up Patrice Cullors. She was trying to get up out of that place with the Negroes. Who thinks that's the first time that she heard gunfire around there? In her diverse neighborhood. Because if you do, I got a bridge I want to sell you. She was trying to get up out of there, Jack. She said, I'm done with this diversity crap. I'll chide and chastise other white people in my articles about their unconscious bias and their systematic and institutional stuff and yada, yada, yada. Well, I'm getting hell away from these Negroes. Didn't move fast enough, man. Unfortunate, man. But she was doing the right thing, man. I'm out.
Aviva had apparently been looking at apartments in Lawrence just hours before she was shot. She was set to start a new role reporting on social issues and criminal justice for the Kansas News Service. Leslie Aguilar, KCTV 5 News.
And here at KCTV5, our hearts go out to her and her work family as well. Now, sadly, this is not the only notable instance of a bystander being shot in the metro recently. On March 31st, a man was killed by a stray bullet while sitting in his living room in KCK. Wednesday, April 14th, 12-year-old Brian Henderson, Jr. of Kansas City, Missouri, was shot while running errands with his sister in Leavenworth. Now, another family is mourning after what's now the third incident in less than a month.
And let's go over some more of Aviva's tweets and retweets, things she retweeted. And I feel terrible that this happened to this woman, even though she would hate me. I want you to understand, this woman would despise me. Okay? She seems like a nice enough woman that wouldn't call me a coon or something like that. But inwardly, she would detest me. And all of you guys who are watching this video and enjoying it. So she retweeted this from Lisa Rodriguez. Aviva did. She says, it says, we, like so many others, have been complicit in reinforcing systemic racism both internally and through our reporting. We want to do better. We want to do better. It's one of the reasons I stepped up to take on a big role at the station. We're taking some steps to fix that. Fair question. Simple answer. We do not have enough black journalists in our newsroom. Shamefully, not enough. Have we always done the right thing? Absolutely not. You have a black mayor, black city council. I don't know if the police chief there is black. There's tons of black people in that city. The black guy who just did the guy who just did the last story, the news anchor was black. Every damn story we do in every city, New York, every city, the people doing the news are black. What is she talking about? Here she writes, TikTok might seem like a bubble of liberal opinions, but an academic analysis of about 8,000 political TikToks in the U.S. found Republican accounts got more likes and comments compared to Democrats' accounts. Well, that'll change. That's all the people that fled Twitter. See, Republicans got tired of being called racist every time they typed a letter on Twitter and getting their accounts banned for telling the truth about what's going on in this country. So a lot of them fled to TikTok. But soon, TikTok will also become a liberal cesspool. This was in December of 2020, so yeah, it's already a liberal cesspool. That was, what, 5 months ago? They shut down Parler. They shut down everywhere else Republicans could go. Republicans didn't have nowhere else to go. So whoever did this study need to do another study now. And I bet it's a liberal cesspool over there in TikTok land.
A stray bullet took another life in the metro. Kansas City's NPR station KCUR reporting one of their journalists, Aviva Okeson-Haberman, died from a gunshot wound in her apartment. She was just 24 years old. This is only the latest of several shootings where unintended targets have died. Within the last month, we've reported on at least 2 other similar incidents. Tonight on 41 Action News, Andres Gutierrez shares the reactions to Aviva's death, as some call this another example of senseless violence.
It's a single shot that has shattered the world of those who loved and knew KCUR reporter Aviva Okeson-Haberman. According to the radio station, a concerned coworker came by her apartment Friday after messages went unanswered.
So this girl was dead for a while. Whew. This is so sad, man. She was dead for a while. And that happens so much in Blackistan. Somebody doesn't hear from somebody who lives alone. They do a welfare check, the person's dead on the floor from a stray bullet. Some dudes shooting at each other, and you know who. This is just sad, man.
It's a single shot that has shattered the world of those who loved and knew KCUR reporter Aviva Okeson-Haberman. According to the radio station, a concerned coworker came by her apartment Friday after messages went unanswered.
Somebody walked over there to her house, and then they came out and looked like they were they're spooked about something. And she got on the phone, and next thing you know, the police showed up.
There are now a lot of unanswered questions of how a bullet pierced Okeson-Haberman's bedroom. 2 days later, police aren't saying much, referring to a press release issued Friday, citing it's an active and open investigation.
It said that a person can't live their life and go on with their life unless somebody doing something stupid and somebody end up dying.
The 24-year-old reporter most recently covered Missouri government and politics at KCUR, the same station where Okeson-Haberman interned while studying at the Missouri School of Journalism. There, she won awards competing against professionals on a national level and did stories as a student that resulted in state investigations.
She was incredibly humble. You would have never guessed that she was somebody that was such a firm and dogged reporter, because she was just so kind and gracious and just a joy to be around.
A few weeks ago, Okeson-Haberman tweeted she was very excited to join the Kansas News Service. Colleagues say hours before she was shot, she had been looking at an apartment in Lawrence.
She was very excited for the next page. As you know, it's a thing that journalists do. You move from job to job to find new opportunities and find new ways to do the work you believe in. And she was just starting that path. We've lost a force for good for nothing, for something that shouldn't have happened. She should be here.
In Kansas City, Andres Gutierrez, 41 Action News.
Aviva's call colleagues wrote a compelling tribute to her on KCUR's website. Coworkers said things like her seriousness was as obvious as her empathy for the people she covered. Aviva was the rare reporter whom everyone loved. When we reached out to KCUR for a statement, General Manager Sarah Morris had this to say, quote, "Our KCUR family is heartbroken over the tragic loss of our talented colleague, Aviva. Her obituary that was written by her grieving colleagues captures so much about her bright spirit and promising future. While Aviva's family, friends, and colleagues are devastated by this, our grief is no more significant than all the other families who are suffering over the loss of their loved ones due to senseless gun violence." Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas tweeting about Aviva, writing in part, quote,
"Oh, so the mayor's woken up now. The mayor tweets about Aviva, and I get it. You know, she's somebody. She's not just some random Negro that had the same fate befall them. And as I said before, Donald Trump did pass legislation based on a kid that was killed in Kansas City last year while sleeping in his bedroom in the early mornings of the wee hours of the morning, around 12, 1 o'clock, sleeping in his bed. Bullet just flew through the drywall, hit him and killed him. So there has been some attention, but you know, I don't know. I guess I can understand the mayor making a statement about this. This woman is somebody in the community. She, you know, was a law-abiding, I guess, upstanding citizen in the community.
Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas tweeting about Aviva, writing in part, quote, "Aviva was a creative, thorough, challenging, and insightful reporter. Always prepared, she told the full and complex story of our city in one of the most challenging years in its history. Her life showed us her compassion for those who too often were voiceless." He went on to write, "Her death lays bare our gravest unsolved epidemic and the preventable tragedies too many families endure."
Okay, guys, so this is where Aviva Okerson lived before she died. Kansas City, Missouri. 60% white, 28% black. And everybody on the gun war is black. Very violent city. Extremely violent. I've covered it ad nauseum. I think I'm the only channel on YouTube that covers Kansas City and what's going on there. Very violent city. Lots of black death, lots of murder, lots of things like you said, as you saw, bullets flying through people's windows. It's almost a weekly occurrence. Someone just in their house and bullet flies through, kills them. This is where she lived, though, a place that was 28% black. And a lot of people got on Patrisse Cullors, the founder of Black Lives Matter, because she moved to a city that was 1.4% black. And I'm one of the few people. Several people did videos, you know, like, yo, I don't blame her. But a lot of people, you know, chided her and talked about her hypocrisy, which was understandable. But I don't care what you're doing, even if she wasn't a hypocrite. If you live in an area where there's a lot of Wakandans, there's going to be a lot of violent crime. There's crime everywhere, but there's going to be a lot of violent crime if you live in a place with a lot of Wakandans. So this woman was trying to get out of this place. Even though she was woke, everybody's systematically racist, and all white people are institutionally and harming black bodies, and social justice reform. We need to let every black person out of jail, and every time a black person do something, you can tie it to slavery if they did something wrong, and black people don't have any agency or any control over their decisions. They're just mindless beings living out the residue of slavery in every action they take. But in her personal life, she was trying to get the hell up out of this place with all these black people. So she was trying to move to Lawrence. Lawrence, Kansas. This place is 6.3% black and far safer, okay? A much safer place. This place is actually noted. That's one of the things it's known for, is how safe it is. So she got her a couple nickels to rub together, and she was like, I'm getting out of Kansas City. Yeah, all you other white people are racist and institutionally and systematic and unconscious bias and all that stuff. I'm getting the hell away from these things. But she didn't move fast enough. Okay, so this is rated the #1 place to live in Douglas County, Lawrence. Overall niche grade of an A+. You never see that for a democratically run city. Now, I don't know yet if this is a democratically run city, but none of the cities, all the cities we cover are F's and D's on this niche app. Public schools get an A. They don't even have a grade for crime and safety because there's no crime. Okay? Diversity, A-. I don't know how they got that with only 6.3% blacks, but maybe it's Asians and Hispanics that are, contributing to that diversity.
Breaking news right now, Aurora police announcing charges in the carjacking and shooting of a mother of two in a Wendy's parking lot. Kim Wybring was sitting in the lot on Orchard and Indian Trail on January 16th. Out of nowhere, thieves pulled her out of her Hyundai Santa Fe and shot her in the back. The bullet stuck in her spine. She's now permanently paralyzed from the waist down.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This white woman was sitting in her car at the Wendy's drive-thru. We just tore up the whole country because someone was sitting in their car at a Wendy's drive-thru last summer in Atlanta. And some people came and pulled him out of the car and shot him. I mean, it was a lot more to the story, but that was the gist of the narrative if you watch the news. That it was a black guy sitting in his car at a Wendy's drive-thru in Atlanta. Race soldiers came up, pulled him out, and shot him. And that's it. Here we have a white woman who's sitting in her car with her kids in a Wendy's drive-thru. And can we start calling these guys race soldiers? These running around killing these white people all the time, shooting these white people all the time. Some Wakandan race soldiers pull her out the car and just shoot her in her spine and paralyze her. Wow. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the Cash App, PayPal. You guys got to support this channel. Continue to hit the PayPal and Cash App. These are stories you don't see anywhere else. No one covers it as deeply and as intensely as we do. No one gets down into the nitty-gritty, into the weeds like we do. Hit that PayPal, hit that Cash App, hit that Super Chat, light it up, and hit that like button.
Charges in the carjacking and shooting of a mother of two in a Wendy's parking lot. Kim Wybring was sitting in the lot on Orchard and Indian Trail on January 16th. Out of nowhere, thieves pulled her out of her Hyundai Santa Fe and shot her in the back. The bullet stuck in her spine. She's now permanently paralyzed from the waist down. On April 21st, detectives arrested a 16-year-old juvenile on several charges. The Kane County State's attorney asked a judge to charge him as an adult, while on Monday. They arrested Edward McGee, who is now charged with battery with a firearm, vehicular carjacking, and armed violence. Aurora's police chief says thieves need to realize the very serious consequences of their actions.
I don't know when you look at, a juvenile and you place a gun in that hand, how anyone could believe that this is a game. Real bullets come out of a gun that's being held by a 15-year-old. And as we see the results, a woman is paralyzed for the rest of her life because of that.
Detectives say the suspects were involved in at least 2 other carjackings around the Chicago area. A third suspect was shot and killed later in another carjacking incident in Lansing, and police are still searching for a 4th suspect.
So this woman is paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of her life. And who's surprised that it was a juvenile and a grown man? Similar to the Adam Toledo situation, where a grown man fired some shots and handed the gun to Adam, little homicide Toledo. This similar situation, a grown man going on a fucking carjacking caper with a 16-year-old. All the videos, the video I showed you about San Francisco a couple of days ago, I think it was last week, the 10-year-olds and the 11-year-olds robbing people. This woman is paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of her life. And the person who did it is 16 years old. Or one of the people who did it was 16 years old. And then when we get the rap sheets on all these guys, we're going to find out they're out on bail from another violent crime. Or no bail. There was no bail. They were just released on their own recognizance. And this woman can never walk again. And it's funny how she looks similar to the Aurora police chief. She looks so much similar to the police chief out there in that town. And I know that police chief, that white woman who's the police chief, could see herself in this woman. And I know it's not fair. White people don't get to see themselves in white victims, and only black people get to see themselves in what. Like, I could see a crackhead could OD in the back of a squad car in Kalamazoo, Wyoming. And I gotta be sitting here in D.C., man, that could have been me. Man, the cops, F the cops, man. But this white woman, white people don't get to do that when stuff happens to white people. They don't get to be like, damn, that could have been me.
I don't know when you look at, a juvenile and you place a gun in that hand, how anyone could believe that this is a game. Real bullets come out of a gun that's being held by a 15-year-old. And as we see the results, a woman is paralyzed for the rest of her life because of that.
Right now, a dispute inside the iconic Peter Luger's Steakhouse in Brooklyn led to shots being fired outside the restaurant. 2 people who were eating and not involved in the fight were struck by the gunfire. Eyewitness News reporter Candace McCowan is live in Williams.
My God. Lord have mercy. But, what's up? Oh, yeah. Give me a race on these 2 people that got shot. And give me a race on the shooter. Because nobody gets to the bottom of these like I do. I want y'all to give me a race on the shooter at this expensive steakhouse. $100 steaks. Give me a race on the shooter. And give me a race on the 2 people that were inside while after one party started to fight outside, and bullets flew inside the steakhouse and hit people that had nothing to do with it.
Peter Luger
Steakhouse in Brooklyn led to shots being fired outside the restaurant. Two people who were eating and not involved in the fight were struck by the gunfire. Eyewitness News reporter Candace McCowan is live in Williamsburg with the breaking details. Candace.
Yeah, and Charlene, you know people love eating outside, especially on a day like yesterday when the weather was warmer than it has been over the past several months. So there were two people actually sitting outside that had nothing to do with this argument when they were struck by those bullets. Now, this argument began at a table inside Peter Luger's around 9:45 last night. The dispute spilled outside where the 24-year-old suspect pulled a gun and began firing. The bullets hitting a 57-year-old man in the stomach and a 30-year-old man in the shoulder. Again, both diners that had nothing to do with this initial argument. Both were taken to Bellevue and are expected to survive. The 24-year-old suspect tossed his gun and apparently ran off. He was captured just about a block away, brought back to the scene, and identified by the many witnesses who were sitting outside eating and saw this all unfold. Now, investigators, they did recover that gun. As for that suspect, we know he's at the 9-0 precinct this morning, and charges against him are pending.
Oh, shocking. The Peter Luger shooting suspect once was arrested for pulling a fake gun at a McDonald's. I'm going to give y'all all a second to pick yourselves up off the floor. Because I know you floored by that revelation. The suspect identified by sources as Arkees Somerville. Arkees. Give me an ID on this guy. Arkees. We have to remember it's New York, so this guy probably threw away 6 months of his life. Being stupid, 2 years tops. He'll be home. Like, he's literally going to be out. He's probably out already. This happened a few days ago. But he'll still have to go to court, and he'll probably get sentenced to a year or two. But he threw away a year or two of his life and could have killed 2 other people and possibly thrown away more. I think if he killed somebody, he'd got about 15 years. If he'd have killed both of them, he might have gotten a life sentence. But Arkees, 24. The shooting was sparked by a family feud at the Brooklyn eatery. After a fight among a table of 11 that spilled outside, he allegedly fired at his rival, but instead injured 2 outdoor diners. Somerville was busted after his cousin pointed him out with the firearm recovered by a garbage can around the block. He had not been charged as of early Friday. Sources say he was taken to Bellevue Hospital because he was acting erratically. Yeah, he shot a bunch of people in front of a famous steakhouse in Brooklyn. In front of 100 people. That part was erratic too, other than the way he was acting after, because now they're going to try to say mental health. So he had to be sedated. Somerville, Arkees Somerville, was previously arrested in 2014 when he was 17 or 18. He was busted then for pulling an imitation pistol outside of a McDonald's play area where kids and parents were inside. Records were not immediately available in that case because he was a juvenile at the time. The victims in Thursday's steakhouse shooting were a 30-year-old man, white man, who was shot in the shoulder, and a 57-year-old white man who was hit in the stomach. Both were taken to Bellevue where they were expected to survive. Just think about this, man. You go to some place there's $100 for a steak, $150 for a steak. It is a party of 11. Wakandans in there acting a fool, and next thing you know, you feel a pain in your stomach. And the guy next to you feels a pain in his shoulder. And this fool runs around the block and throws the gun into near a pile of trash bags. And then he starts acting crazy, and then they gotta take him to the damn mental hospital. And then you might bump into him the next day at the grocery store because he's gonna get out on his own recognizance because New York has no bail. This is the New York that you asked for. I don't feel bad for you. I do not feel bad for you. I don't feel bad for you. I don't. But I do feel bad for the Viva lady and the other lady in Chicago, in Aurora,